Tech Cocktail Sessions, educational and inspirational talks from experienced startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm excited to be here. You know, I actually really love this theme that we have today because it's all about, how does an inspiration or idea turn into a business? And that is exactly how I started both companies. It was really through a market need that I found was missing, and I saw a huge potential in both businesses, and it was just about moving forward, taking action, and that should turn it into something bigger. So I'll just start off with just kind of briefly going over just how I started, and then open it up to Q&A. But I really started my first company when I was 19 years old. I was literally in my dorm room, and I was an anthropology major. I went to Brown University, and so I was barefoot probably my whole 4 years of college, thinking that I was gonna save the world. And I started baking, and just following my passion in terms of baking. Oh, well, no, that's there's that ink one. Yeah, there you go. So, I started baking, and it's really just a story of just raw kind of passion and following through with it. I would just baked for a hobby, and I would always just name them after my friends and family. So I had this special baked goods banana bread, and it was called Kelly Jelly Banana and it was made out of real bananas and had Strawberry River running through it and usually top crunch topping. And I started a company called Jessica's Wonders, and the best way to describe it is that it's like the Ben & Jerry's of baked goods, just really a full personality, and I learned major lessons through that. Two major things. First of all, it was amazing supply chain management. I started out in my dorm room, and I walked into a pizzeria. This is how it really started, and I saw a banana bread being sold, and it was just a plate of banana bread, but it was wrapped in saran wrap, so I knew it wasn't a formal company that made it, and a little sign that said that it was sold for $1.79. And so I go to the owner and I said, "Are you kidding me? I could do so much better than that. Where'd you get this?" And he was like, "Oh yeah? Okay, then bring it in." So I literally baked it, brought it in. He sold out that day, and he was like, "Wow, I'm a pizzeria. I never sell out of this stuff. Bring some more in." And after about 3 loaves, I was like, "Wait a second, you need to pay me for this." And so I had to just figure out, how much was I selling? How much was I paying for it? How much am I going to sell for it? How much am I going to sell it for? And then I was like, I want people to know that I made it. So, I made that basket that you see right there. We were featured in Inc. magazine, but it was literally just construction paper and markers, right? And so I think that's a just story of just I wasn't a professional baker, but I just had this, passion, and I saw this opportunity. And I just started selling around campus, and I had 13, 15 different locations selling it. I raised $1 million my senior year. I was a scrawny little girl with braces, and I still can't believe people were investing in me, but it was really believing in that. What are we going to do? It wasn't just a lifestyle business. It was we were going to be the Ben & Jerry's of baked goods. There's something missing in the market. We grew it within 20 months to $4 million in revenue. So I went from my dorm room to outsourced baking, bakeries. We had 3 outsourced bakeries, and we got a big deal with Stop & Shop Supermarket, which is the largest chain of supermarkets, right, here in New England. I'm in New England. And so we had 6 weeks to go from 4 test stores, and I'll never forget that call when they said, "You're doing great. We're going to launch you in all 324 stores. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Sure." When? 6 weeks. I was like, "Of course." I got off the phone. I was like, "All right, guys, we need to ramp it up," and we did it. So it was amazing in terms of supply chain management, and also the power of a personal kind of story behind a company and how powerful that could be, especially in a consumer-facing company. So I ended up doing that for about 5 years. I sold it to my head investors, and then I went to business school. I went to Kellogg Business School out in Chicago, and then I wanted to get the corporate experience, so I went to Kraft Foods, did brand management, ran a larger P&L, understood the corporate kind of politics and structure. I loved my experience there. I was there for about 3 years, and then that's when I actually had my first child, and I was on maternity leave. And to be honest, after the Jessica's Wonders experience, it was very intense. It was an amazing experience, but I just didn't know if I was going to do it again. But when I became a parent, I realized that there was a huge missing opportunity in the market, and that still is what keeps us up all night. When you become a parent, how many parents do we have here? Through here, okay. But when you become a parent, it's a lifestyle change. And the statistic that always alarms me is that 80% of your brand loyalties change as soon as you become a parent. If you think about from the detergent you use to the car that you buy, I now have a minivan, to what you do for entertainment, to what you spend your time on. It's a complete lifestyle change. And what I didn't see in the market at that point was a brand or a company really changing that industry and treating it like a lifestyle. You see it in cooking, homemaking, decorating, even pets, and all these other kind of consumer-facing lifestyle businesses. But where is that in parenting? It's a really segmented market. You have, the brands of products, you have the retailers, you have online resources, but nothing really embracing it as a lifestyle, combining content and commerce. And so that was the big vision. I was like, we're going to be like the Martha Stewart of baby. That's the big vision of what BabbaCo was. But what I did was I initially started the company, in 2008, late 2008, and it was what I knew best, and it was to invent products that I felt were missing in the market, so very tangible. So my first product was actually this Babba cover, which Jen will pull up. It's actually the blue one, if you could pull that up, because I have an important point there. So the blue Babba cover there, see, it's not very pretty, but I bring this up because this is my prototype of the product. I have this idea I had this idea because I felt, the baby was born in Chicago. It was freezing cold, very much like in Boston, and people were always putting blankets over the car seat cover, protecting their baby, and I felt like, why wasn't there something that was just made for it and looked also super cute? But I did not know how to sew. I was not a seamstress. And a lot of times when you have an idea, but you don't have the actual skill to do it, a lot of times the ideas just stop right there, right? And you don't move forward. But I guess my big point here is that don't ever let your actual, a skill like that stop you from achieving a bigger vision. So I taught myself how to sew on YouTube videos. I glued, I stapled, I did whatever it took just to come up with something that resembled what I felt like it should look like at the end. And then so you could see the green picture of the final product is what actually got commercialized. And that's, within a year, we got it into 1,000 locations. We were in all these, chain retailers, mass chain retailers, and it was amazing. But then it was like I did that for about 2 years, and it was me and Christine, and we were just running it, and we were making some great revenue. But what we realized is that, wait a second, I had this huge vision of this lifestyle brand that really kind of changed that industry and kind of really stood out in combining content and commerce. But we were a wholesale manufacturing business model. So basically, we had no direct relationship with the consumer. We sold pallets and pallets of covers and self-inflatable playmats and all these other things that we invented through a buyer of a retail chain, and then we don't know what happened after that except what the inventory count was. Yet on the brand side, we did flip cam videos, we did YouTube, we're all over social media, we did offline events, and we got like hundreds of emails saying, people saying like, oh, dear Jessica, or, we really started having this huge engagement level with our community, and it was really genuine and authentic. So we said, there's a missing opportunity here. And so I applied to one of the incubators. So I'm sure you've heard of Techstars and all these other business incubators. We were in Chicago then, so there was an incubator called Accelerate. So I entered that. We were picked as one of the 10. And, it was interesting because when you go into an experience like that or you meet with any mentor, I think the best thing is to really know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And so we analyzed all of that. So on literally the second day of that incubator, I had this great conversation with one of our mentors who ended up being my lead investor. He's from a VC firm called Lightbank, Paul Lee. And, we were just talking about different business models, just, exploring different ones. And he was like, flash sales or this and that. And then as soon as we talked about subscription-based model, and he said, and we talked about it and said, that's really building relationship because you're getting something every month. and you're interacting with the community every month. It's a huge opportunity for great brands. I thought, that's it. That's what we have, and that's what would be a complete match. So literally that night, I stayed up till 3 a.m. I couldn't get out of my head. I was like, if it's a subscription model, that's interesting, but if we send something to parents every single month, it has to have a true impact. It can't be just a sampling of products, or it can't be just, socks or something like that. It has to have an impact. And that's when all the kind of engagement that we had with our community and all the learning that we had with them came up. And the biggest question we got from parents all the time was, what do I do with my kids? Like, what do I do with my kids? There's a lot of things that you can buy, like in terms of toys or, clothes or things like that, but not a lot that facilitates the quality time or enrichment that you spend with your kids. And so that's when we came up with the Babba Box. And so, Jen, there's the picture of the Babba Box. And the Babba Box is a monthly subscription of enriching activities that come to your house. And it has, 4 major components in which are the major ways kids engage and learn. And that's create, explore, storytell, connect. It has everything you need, even the glue. You can be on a desert island, get this box, and you can open it up and do it. So that was really important. But we also have a lot of content. So, we have a lot of educators and preschool teachers, and we really base every theme of a month based on educational content. So we just combine the content and commerce. So it's been an amazing, we launched it, we came up with the idea June, got funded with our seed funding. We raised like 1.25 million from VCs in July. Accelerate ended in August. We launched in August. And then we shipped out our first box in September, and we've been more than doubling ever since then. And it's just been a complete fit for what our brand stood for. So that was a huge lesson for me, that the business model, more than just even an idea, is a huge aspect of how to make it come to life. And so that's the Babba Box, and we're expanding this year to all different levels, and there's a lot more to come. This is just the start for us, for BabbaCo. So, I think I would just boil it down to, I loved Jeff's talk, and it's amazing how we can be in completely different businesses, but as entrepreneurs, there is a special bond because you learn the same things. I always boil it down to not the 4 Ps of marketing, but the 4 Ps of entrepreneurship. And it really comes down to passion, people, perseverance, and purpose. And, passion, and I would say like pinpoint your passion, because a lot of people say, oh, follow your passion, but that's not always the best business idea, right? So actually, baking was not, I liked it, but it turned out after doing it for 5 years that baking was not my passion. It was actually starting that brand and community and building out, a bigger purpose. And some people, I met some bakers, for example, who, their passion was baking, and when you turn it into a business, it actually doesn't end up being about the baking. It ends up being about, building out the team and promotion and marketing and everything. And so with BabbaCo, this is, I'm so passionate about being a mom and a parent, about having a long-lasting impact for our consumers, as well as getting the brand out there. In terms of people, it is all about the people. My first company, I was the only founder. We had a team of 13, but I didn't feel like I had a true partner in it. Your investors, they're partners with you, but who's on your complete side every single moment? And so with BabbaCo, Christine, who's right there, she's joined me just under a year after I started the company from my house. And that has truly proven to me that having a partner who has very complementary skills and personality to you can be really, really strong. So Christina and I have gone through ups and downs and everything, and I couldn't have done it without her. And so I really, the people and then the team, this is my team right here, and we could talk about building out a team. I feel like we've built out an amazing team. And that's really what it is. And even in terms of investors, it's so easy to kind of just look at how much money they're going to give you or what firm reputation they have. But at the end of the day, it's who is that person that's going to be calling you, talking to you. And I learned the hard way from my first business that, ethics and the character of that person is a lot more important. So even to this day, as we're just about to close on our next round, and I always look at the person's characteristic and character and ethics and who they are as a person, more than even just the firm reputation. Perseverance. So I always say, the most important thing that you need as an entrepreneur, and a lot of you probably are entrepreneurs and know this, is pushing through and persevering. There's always going to be something, and it never stops. For example, for me, gosh, there's so much, but even when we launched the business of BabbaCo, it was September of 2008. So a lot of you will remember that. That's when the market completely crashed. And so I remember sending out the email to everyone, all my old coworkers, and being like, yeah, I launched my business. Literally a week later, everything was on the news, like the market crashed, no one's buying anything. And I was like, great timing, But you get through it, and what we had to do is adjust our minimum quantities when we're working with retailers, or just your business plan, how you market. And for us, launching at that time, there was only one way to go, and it's to go up. So we just adjusted our projections and expectations. And so it's like, what do you do with the hurdles that come in front of you? The other thing with entrepreneurship, I think, is it's so ingrained in your own personal life. And I have yet to meet an entrepreneur that can completely separate it, because you are living and breathing this nonstop. And so I remember the day before we got on Fox Business News Live. So it was a big deal for us. It was live TV. We could go out there and present, talk about our products and business. And the day before I found out, my mom, she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, right? And she had 2 to 3 months to live. You're like, oh my gosh, a huge bomb. And so, it was like totally emotional. What are you gonna do? But, of course, with her pushing, she was like, you just got to do it, That's what I would want you to do. And so the next day, even though I'm like all puffy-faced and you think your whole world is changing, you got to go out there, and for those 20 minutes or whatever that you're on, like, you have to be on and get your face. And, none of my investors or team really knew what was going on until after the fact. And that's the thing. You bring no drama to the business. It's got to, you got to go for it, and then learn how to separate it in some way. And I think my last point is just purpose. I think if it's for money or to have this huge exit, there are a lot of other easier ways to kind of make financial gains, right? So if money is the only reason why you're kind of doing this, then it's not going to last. Like, that's not going to kind of get you through everything. So for me, I feel like this is my mission. I feel I think BabbaCo especially is a culmination of just all my personal and kind of entrepreneurial experiences coming up to, one, it's my passion personally. It makes me feel like a better mom, actually, learning all these things about the kids. I have a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and one expecting. It's just, you have to have that deep, deep sense of why you're doing it, because that's the only thing that's going to get you through.